Ladies and gentlemen, what we just witnessed today was incredible. We finally got the reveal of the Warhammer Titan. We finally got our reveal to just who Aaron is at this point and how he acts. I don't even know how to process this. Today we'll be getting into my first impressions, my very first impressions. Last week we had a couple of mistakes, so if there's a couple of mistakes in this week's episode, I apologize, but we're going to be breaking down the episode, some very brief light analysis, and a little bit of a recap as well. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe because later on in the week we're going to actually have a more in-depth review and analysis where I go back over this episode and we discuss my theories and all of that stuff. So with that being said, let's get into the video. The episode starts off interestingly enough, actually kind of on a sad note. Willie is leaving his family behind. There's sadness in his eyes. These siblings and these kids are like, hey, can we go with you? Bring us back something. And you can just see it pains him to hear that from them because he knows at this point that he's probably going to die. But he even pats one of the maids' heads. I assume Willie's family and the Tybers are so close that it seems like those are all people from within the family. Tybers really value family among many other things. Even Willie's, I assume, wife is very sad to see him go. She kind of realizes this is a do or die thing. He's probably informed her already of what he's about to go and do. Man, it is kind of sad to see Willie go, but at the same time, it is what it is, right? So Willie knows he's a sacrifice, but he has to do it because what Willie plans to do is he plans to spin this, because if Willie doesn't get on stage and talk, nobody's really going to show up and take them seriously. But not only that, if he dies in battle, the most respected person probably in the world at this point in terms of, social, economic kind of threats, they're not going to take this as seriously. But if Willie dies, it's basically going to light a fire under their ass to act and do stuff. Willie regrets that they didn't do a good enough job watching their own backyard, which is really true. They've kept eyes on Paradise Island and the Eldians, but they didn't do a good enough job to keep an eye on what's going on domestically. And that is further backed up because Willie is worried about conspirators. Azumabito, anybody? Remember in the last episode when I talked about Azumabito and how I think she's kind of a traitor? I think that is one of the people that has possibly either joined the side of the Eldians on Paradise Island or are going to, or a third option are a third faction in this fight, which would be very interesting. Marley even has enemies in their own military. Think about that. So if they have enemies in their own military, then that means that hole can be exploited for further use, which Marley doesn't want that. Willie, though, he's willing to sacrifice a lot of these really incompetent officers, but he says to basically, let's place the important ones around the edges so that they'll be the most likely to survive. And then Magath can do afterwards is he can form his own version of this new military with the people that he trusts the most. It's actually a really devious plan, and Magath even at the end shakes Willie's hand and says, well, we're kind of devils now, aren't we? I thought Willie going into this seemed kind of like a guy that got it, but he also seems at the same time like someone who also irrationally hates the Eldians, in my opinion, because he says that many will die, but they're just Eldians, and to me that makes Willie despicable. The fact that he doesn't care that Eldians will die. He even says to Magath, hey, you've sent Eldians out for years in the military just to go and die. Don't give up on me now. These are the spawns of devils. We don't care about these people. I've said this before, we don't really need to go back over that, but I think it really just goes to show that even people like Willie, who are seemingly, when you see them, have their head on it a little bit better than others when it comes to Eldians, even he hates them? Yeah, that is interesting. And well, Willie dies. So I was sort of wrong in my initial theory that Willie was one of the candidates to be the Warhammer Titan. We didn't really know much about Willie. We didn't know much about the Tiber family, so it seemed the most obvious since he was coming out of nowhere with all this knowledge, but he's not. Aaron kills a bleacher of officers, and there's this one officer that's just standing there. He's just completely shocked, he doesn't know what's going on. And then after that, sadly, we see Zofia and Udo. Zofia is crushed, and Udo is trampled. It's really sad. Colt basically saves Gabby, and Gabby just sits there and screams like she's losing her mind. We'll talk about it a little bit more later on in this video, and as well later on in my video that's going to be coming out Wednesday. Gabby has a lot of similarities to Eren. Actually, this episode has a lot of similarities to the first couple episodes of Attack on Titan. So if you haven't seen those in a while, go back, watch it after this episode. So it's revealed. Willie's sister is the Warhammer Titan. The girl in the black, the short munchkin, as I called her. By the way, the guard dies. Rippin' Ripperoni, Mr. Guard. She transforms from the feet up. Now there's an interesting bit and why that is, so stay tuned to later in the video. I'll talk about it. Eren wrecks her right in the face. It looks like a cover of a Pantera album, her face, by the end of all this. And while that's happening, Magath shoots the first round in their counterattack. I actually like that moment. Magath, why did you fire that? And he's like, it may be a plink, but it signals our first shot in our counterattack. And so a very interesting analysis. Once again, stay tuned for later in the week. Make sure to subscribe to see this. The Warhammer Titan starts to fight back and impales Eren. And this is very Evangelion-esque imagery. Earlier in this episode, we already saw it. But now this spire that pierces Eren. I mean, come on, y'all. That's so Evangelion. And people get annoyed about Evangelion all the time. And they say, Evangelion is this and that. It ain't as good. It's overrated. Everyone references Evangelion in this day and age. It is such a influential piece of work. I'm just saying, I know I'm going off on a tangent, but I love Evangelion, okay? So we head on over to another scene where we see Gabby and Colt. They need to get Udo help because he doesn't look that good. Yeesh. And then we see Peek and Porco. They're both rescued by the Panzer Squad, or what are they called? I don't remember what they're called. Somebody help put in the comments below, please. They're basically saved, and Peek told the Panzer Squad leader, the chubby guy, to keep an eye on them and follow them because Peek doesn't trust the bearded soldier. Which last episode I thought Peek was just trying to get her some. Bad theory, SeaTactics, bad theory. And oh my lord, the moment we've all been waiting for. They're here. The military has arrived. Mikasa, Levi, and everyone. Oh man, this was a top 10 anime moment, guys. The shivers that was sent down my spine from seeing this and realizing when Peek looks up and it's them, and you can hear it. When you hear that air going off and the air being expelled, that sound effect, it is just, it's so satisfying to finally hear that again. And then the sound of the rope that is being used, oh my god. It is such a great moment. So we see the continuation of the Warhammer fight with Eren. She creates a mallet-like weapon, and she's like totally gray, which is really cool. And that's just because the same reason that she can create the mallet-like weapon. It's because she uses hardening to create basically armor that coats her and is around her and protects her. It's like a suit of armor. The Warhammer Titan in general just looks really cool. So awesome. Probably one of my favorite Titan designs that I've seen. So Eren is attacked. He is exposed. The Warhammer Titan is like, any last words, usurper of the founding Titan? And Eren is like, Mikasa, it's now or never. Mikasa shows up. Oh my god, this is so... So Mikasa shows up and uses the thunder spears that have been super refined. We see that the gear that they're using are completely refined at this point. They use kind of these gun-like things instead of just holding on to swords or whatever it may be. Mikasa's first words to Eren are, let's go home, Eren. I'm pretty sure by the end of this series, there's going to be a montage of every time she says Eren. And I'm just going to be real with y'all here, but it may be over 500. It may be at this point. Another scene that gave me goosebumps. Magath is calling in all the troops. He's calling in all the trainees. He's calling in all the ships full of 30,000 soldiers. Magath curses them, says that everyone is going to hate them and side with Marley, and they'll become the enemies, just like Willie planned. Which, I don't think that's necessarily the case. Even Magath knows that there are traitors within, or conspirators at least, within their ranks. So I don't think everyone will. I think Azumabito is a very important role in all of this, because if they get one nation to join them, that's going to be a very big get for the Paradisians. Then we see John. John is actually yelling at Flock, like, hey, keep civilian casualties to low, and Flock says that they had it coming, which I don't think is a really good mindset for Flock to have. We saw Flock with his weird haircut in season 3. He was the tiebreaker. He wanted Levi to turn into the Titan. Also, his hair hair seems to be fixed. If anything, Flock returned with a really nice haircut. Mikasa tells Eren that he's just gone way too far. He's killed a bunch of civilians, and as Mikasa is telling Eren this, she has a tear in her eye. It really shows that even though Mikasa has killed a lot of people, Mikasa probably doesn't want to see Eren go down that same path. I guess too little too late at this point, but Eren's look throughout this whole thing, it's still pretty expressionless. He seems to be still pretty focused on the Warhammer Titan because the Warhammer Titan is completely alive, and that's when it's revealed that the chooses hardening to create her armor and her weapons. Okay, if you didn't pay attention to this next scene, you really need to. There's a lot of character development for Gabby specifically. The hospital is full. Udo is likely dead, and Gabby is very angry. She starts gritting her teeth, and this is very reminiscent of Eren from season 1, like I said earlier in this video. Gabby wants to fight. She runs to these guards and says, "Mr. Gate Guard, please allow me to fight. I will do it." Sasha kills all the guards. We see Sasha at the top of a roof. Sasha herself doesn't look like she wanted to do it, but this ends up with Gabby grabbing a gun as Sasha and Connie are dealing with placing lights on the rooftop. I assume to signal the rest of the squad. Gabby grabbing that gun is very important. I don't know what she's gonna do with it. Actually, I think may happen is Gabby may shoot Eren. Maybe Eren will go unconscious and the mission will go awry and then they have to replan everything. I think Gabby is gonna have a really important role with whatever she's gonna do in the next episodes. Whoo, this next scene, oh my lord. So Eren figures out the Warhammer Titan's secret. The Warhammer Titan formed from the feet up, tracing the little fleshy rope thing. The umbilical cord sees a hole, and it seems that Eren has figured it out and turns into his Titan form almost immediately, which is very surprising. We typically don't see it that much. I think he's kind of mastered his Titan abilities at this point. So Eren finds her, detaches her from her Titan form, and threatens to eat her when Porco comes out of nowhere. Eren is saved by Levi. That was a really awesome reveal when he comes on the screen. Ugh, so many great moments in this episode. Holy crap. God damn, dude, this episode was so good. And we end on a scene where, well, Porco may be royally fucked. I hope Porco doesn't die. You know, it's very weird. I don't want any character to die, even from the people on the Marleyan side. Like, I don't want really any of these characters to die outside of maybe Zeke. He's kind of an asshole. Man, when it hit the to be continued card, I was like, stop it. Stop. Just continue. Can this be a double length episode? This was so good. So freaking good. But now it's time to get into the preview. So I'm going to ask you guys to click off if you don't want to watch anymore. 3, 2, 1. All right, let's talk about the preview. So we see the scene of Falco looking onward as he sees the Beast Titan and Peak all fighting off what seems to be the scouts, or the military, I should say. We see Gabby, and then we see Mikasa, and possibly it's teasing the appearance of the Armored Titan, none other than Reiner. We're gonna have to see what happens with Reiner. I think that's gonna be a very interesting scene once we see Reiner, the Armored Titan, come out and face off with whoever it is they're gonna face off, because there's no way Reiner is happy about anything that just went down, especially when he learns about what happened with Udo and Zofia. So with that being said, tell me all of your theories in the comments down below, what your first impressions are of this episode. I thought it was incredible. All right, thank you everybody for watching. This was an amazing episode, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It's time to plug some stuff. So if you haven't already subscribed, ring the bell. I have a Patreon where you can support me there, and as well every Monday on the King of Anime podcast, which is tomorrow if you're watching this on Sunday. Tomorrow at 8 p.m. EST, we'll be talking about this episode of AOT, ReZero's episode 14, 15, and 16, Promise Neverland Season 2, Episode 2, X-Arm Episode 2, and Mushoku Tensei. You don't want to miss out, so be sure to subscribe, check out the stream tomorrow, come by, chat with us. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.